You are watching TGZ TV.
The Global Zambian, the only magazine that celebrates quality, cross-culture lifestyle and entertainment.
Hello. Good evening. I think, Nana, you've got feedback on your side. You might have to mute one of your devices.
Oh, okay. 1 second.
How are you this evening, Nana? It's been an eventful week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has. It definitely has.
It
Do you still have the feedback?
It's gone now.
Okay.
It's gone now, yes. So how are you faring this weekend? Are you looking forward to just resting? It's been a busy week. How are you to be spending your weekend?
I really want to just relax this weekend because it's really been hectic and stuff. So yeah, I just need that time to myself and
just to rest up a little bit, right?
Yeah,
just to rest up a
planning to
little
do.
bit. No, I feel you. I need like a really, really super long nap. You know what I mean? I need a super long nap. It's like it's so needed. Yes. So obviously today we are discussing Squid Game. Okay, so obviously our usual that we normally come online to discuss is normally what's it called, Divorce Club, but obviously
The Divorce Club,
TV is all about not just discussing one show but giving reviews about various other shows, and Squid Game happens to be currently a worldwide phenomenon. So, you know, everybody's talking about it. People are creating all kinds of memes surrounding Squid Games. You know, it's very, very interesting. I literally binge watched it in one day. And I was just like, oh my gosh. How did you find it when you first watched it, Nana?
My sister first recommended it to me, and I legit don't trust her selections because she's got weird. Yeah, so I was very hesitant. I'm like, here you go again with your crazy shows and stuff. And today she actually admitted that she was so embarrassed to recommend it to me because she feared I might judge her because I don't like senseless violence and everything. So I like freak out with that. So when I heard there'll be like all those killings, I was very skeptic about it. Like
it can
but
make somebody
to my
a bit
surprise, sorry,
I said it can make
did you say something?
when you hear about the violence, it can make people quite skeptical. Very true.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, I went in with the side eye, and the first episode kind of
With the
freaked me
major
out,
side eye.
but then but then when we progressed, I was like, okay, I understand. Like I warmed up to it, and I really, really loved it. I didn't think I would, but I really, really loved it. Yeah.
No, it kind of like when it comes to Squid Game, obviously it kind of gives of, Hunger Games. People were really into Hunger Games. Battle Royale, if you've ever watched Battle Royale, this one is a bit older than these other ones. It's been on there. I think there's Battle Royale, there's one, and I haven't watched another one. There's another one based, I think, in Australia or something like that. So that's another one as well. Battle Royale has got a very similar premise. And then there's also this one I actually watched, I think, a few months ago, Alice in Borderland. Oh, was it a few months ago? Maybe last year. Alice in Borderland has got a very similar premise, but obviously when it comes to Squid Game, it's got a slightly different, should I say, story arc, in the sense that Hunger Games, Alice in Borderland, and what's the first one I just mentioned? My memory is really fading me. What's the first one I mentioned? Battle Royale. Battle Royale.
I think it.
Battle Royale, yeah. Those three, the participants had no choice. Like, they were forced to do what they had to do. You know what I mean? They were forced into those situations. Whereas with Squid Games, Squid Game, should I say? I always call it Squid Games. It's actually Squid Game because it's based on a game called Squid Game. There's no S at the end, So basically, Squid Game, they had an option. They actually had an option to stick around. They chose to actually go. Obviously, the first time around, they don't know what they're getting themselves into. So that's fair enough. You know what I mean? But the second time round, they choose to kind of go back in. And so what I'm actually going to do right now is I am going to just play the for those who don't know anything, I'm going to play the trailer. I'm hoping we don't get flagged for this because it's the trailer for Squid Game, but I'm gonna play the trailer if I can find it. Where's the trailer? There it is. I'm gonna play the trailer for Squid Games, and basically we are just going to, just to give people, anyone who doesn't know what it's about. This is not a spoiler, but after the trailer is played, a lot of the things that we're going to be discussing, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched it yet and you don't want any spoilers, we do suggest that you tune out and then you come back after you've watched it to kind of like watch our review. And so this is the trailer for Squid Games for those who have not had a chance to find out about what it's about. So, for those who don't know, it's intense, right? It's quite interesting. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to see more. So we've got a comment here. I think A-Biz is saying that after seeing all those shootings, I cannot imagine going back inside. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it does pose the question, which is the question that we posed if you look at our description of the videos, if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube. In the description, we say it poses the question, what would you be willing to do in order to survive and in order to kind of just basically stay alive? Like, what would you be doing what would you do, and how far would you be willing to go if you found your life in a position where you feel like you are at a dead end? How far would you be willing to go in order to get the money so that you can improve your life? And when you know that your life is actually on the line, how far would you be willing to go? How far would you be willing to go, Nana?
I've been battling in my head to think, like, if I was one of those people, would I have gone back? I don't know, actually. I really, really don't know, because the chances are so slim. Like, it's really, really tough. But then when you think about all that money, and if you're at the end of the road, I know what that feels like, to feel like, what am I even living for? So if you're at that point where you feel like nobody's gonna miss me if I go anyway, so whatever. Like, if you're at that point, I think I would, but for me, I have a daughter, so like everything is centered around
You're
my
like,
daughter.
I've still got somebody to live for.
No.
But then again, here's the thing. A lot of the characters in there, our main character, who is amazing, by the way, and funny. I don't think he realizes that he's naturally funny. Like, he doesn't try to be funny, but I still find him somewhat hilarious. You know what I mean? saying in my current position in life right now, there's no way. But if
Yeah.
but I felt so sorry for Ali. Oh yeah, we're gonna touch on that. Like that part made me actually cry. It actually made me cry. But the actor, who you're gonna see on the screen right now, Lee Jun Jae, who played Song Ji Hong. He basically is absolutely hilarious. I found the part where basically he comes on and everybody's like kind of serious taking their pictures, and he's like, you know, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That was so funny.
It was so funny. I'm
That
like,
was
oh my
so
gosh,
funny.
he's quite precious. He's one of those people who you feel he kind of deserves some of the stuff he gets, but at the same time, it's easy to feel sorry for him because you're like, because of the fact that you can tell that he's got a pure heart. You know what I mean? He does not have a malicious mindset, you know. And I think throughout the series, until the episode where they have to play the marbles, he basically is the only part where you kind of like side eye him a little bit. But throughout, he's shown compassion for other people. He's shown empathy for other people. He's shown kindness towards the other people, which is the least I can say about his childhood friend. Okay.
Oh, his
his,
childhood friend was brutal.
his
But
childhood
I can
friend.
understand, like we
Yes.
have to survive, so I can
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
how where the brutalness came from.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
his childhood friend, who is, as you can see on the screen right now, Park Hae So, who is played by, Park Hae So, who plays the character Cho Sang Woo, and basically, in my opinion, he is the biggest, aside from the games master, the people who create the game, he is the biggest villain in my eyes. He is literally the worst person
Really?
ever. Yes, I think so. Only went to episode 3. Really? Why did you only go into episode 3? Could you not
Yeah.
stomach any more of it? Could you not
Please
stomach
let
any
us
more of it,
know,
Frank?
Frank.
Frank, yeah, let us know. Could you not stomach any more of it? Like, was it too much? Did you find like you were scared for the people? Because it became inevitable that okay, nobody's coming out here alive except for one, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's survival mode. I don't know. I mean, survival
That's what I
mode.
think as well. That's what I feel as well. Like you never know you're this person until you have to survive.
Right.
Granted.
Frank, there's good plot twists. They are very good, interesting plot twists in there. They are. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, in terms of if we were to look at it on a writer's producer perspective, as opposed to an emotional side of it, he definitely was marked as one of the villains of the
Hmm.
show. Definitely, without a shred of a
Hmm.
doubt. And I just kind of I from the moment he made the decision to take the triangle, okay, in the honeycomb game, I was like, oh my gosh, you literally just made a pact to say you're gonna stick together, and you literally threw everybody under the bus, or should I say, under the a proverbial gun. You know what I mean? Literally, it didn't take him all of 5 minutes. It's one thing to have survival mode, but in that moment, it was not really about survival of the fittest. He could have easily said, this is how it's going to be. It's going to be difficult, guys. Let's maybe, I don't know, rock paper scissors it or something, and then whoever picks the hardest shape picks the hardest shape. But he knew, and he still chose to pick the simplest shape for himself. And that's where I felt like he's selfish. And let's bear in mind also, you have to look at, there's a reason why they showed us backstories of certain individuals and not all of them. If you know, if you paid attention,
Hmm.
the crazy woman with the curly hair, we don't know her backstory. That's because I think they just want us to go, she's crazy, she doesn't care, that's who she is. You know what I mean? We didn't need a backstory for
She
her.
was crazy.
She was
She's one of
insane.
my favorite characters. She was
Are you
so
serious?
crazy. Yeah, she was like the situation was so intense.
Hmm.
She brought like a ridiculous comedic factor to it, and I'm like, why are you so ridiculous? I hated at some point, but then I warmed up to her. Yeah, when the other villain was, so bad to her, and everybody just turned against her. Like I kind of warmed up to her at some point.
I
Like
walked
anyway,
up to
she's
her for like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Then she turned around and became mean to the other ladies. And for me, the funniest part is people like, oh, old lady. She's like, old lady, no. And she
I'm
made the guy.
19.
She's like 19.
What?
I said 19 where?
She
In what
really
world are you
believed she was
19?
the
In what
sexiest
world
thing.
are you 19? Amy says, if faced with bullets flying past your head, you might do anything. You might do anything. You never know. But again, it's not in a situation where the bullets are constantly flying and then you're forced to make a rash decision. In some of them, you had time to think, you know. And I feel like because of the backstory we had for the childhood friend, it was obvious that he never liked to do things the straight way. Even if he went to apparently what might have been an Ivy League university, right, in Korea, he still chose to take shortcuts. He still chose to steal, which means he doesn't appreciate what he's got. He always wants more. And so that kind of person, to me, is a very selfish person who, regardless of the circumstances, will still throw you under the bus, even if there's no gun pointed at him, even if there's no flying bullets. As Abis has said, you know, she likes the crazy woman as well.
Then, yeah, but then
she did. She brought comedy
for our lead guy. If he knows his best friend is this way, because those are not characteristics that just sort of, because a dangerous situation just exposes who you already are inside.
Yeah.
All that's going to come out is already something that you already have, but then the situation just exposes it. So now, why didn't why I also blame the people for wanting a leader and wanting this level of union when you know that this is Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like it's literally the Hunger Games out here. And why do you think I will help you? I want this man. Like,
we're
help
not
me
here
understand.
To make friends. We're not here to make friends.
We're not here to make friends. But
here's the thing,
I am that.
Yeah,
I have that naive. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have that. Wanting to believe the best in everybody. I feel like I would find myself in that situation as well. But we need to learn with life, because these were a lot of like life lessons. We need to learn.
Right.
Like a lot of people are just out there looking out for themselves, and you can't help it if that's who you are. You can't just all of a sudden, you know what I mean, be selfish and do all these things. And but I don't like the fact that he deliberately manipulated them in certain he knew that they are counting on him and trusting him.
Yeah, that's his literal backstory. That his backstory was manipulation, steal, and so I don't understand. And I think as viewers, because he was friends to the character we love, right, to the main character, the protagonist, I think by association we assumed he was going to be a nice person. You know what I mean? By association, because we really like, even if we thought, oh my gosh, this guy's so dumb, you found yourself going, oh, not again. Oh God, he did it. Oh God, like literally. I was like, this guy, does he not know how to make a right decision? Like, he literally makes bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. You get the money you steal money from your mom, rather than saying, okay, let me use it for something sensible, you decide to go gamble it. Okay, but because you've been gambling all your money, you end up having loan sharks sign you. And then you meet this guy at the train station, and as soon as you see the money, his eyes literally lit up. So for me, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, but still, even with all his stupid decision making, I found him endearing, the main character. And so by association, when we found out that that's his friend, you think, oh, there must be like really nice guys together. And then he pulled that stunt. I was like, wait 1 second, that's supposed to be the child. Wait, are you going to really leave your childhood friend to die? Like, you know what I mean? Frank is saying it's a glimpse into a different form of poverty or slavery, in my view. I mean, it is definitely a glimpse into poverty and slavery to a degree, in the sense that there are people who are sadists, because to a degree, that is a sadistic game where these rich people are sitting there watching and enjoying it and putting bets on it, and things like that. Betting on them like that. Yes. Betting on them
that
like
was
horses.
so hard for me to watch.
it was very, very difficult. And the thing is, the what's the guy's name? Hang on, let me see. I've got all the characters here, guys. So at least if I forget, I can always refer to this. Him. Okay, let me just remove the comment because it's kind of blocking the name. Give me a second. Okay, Lee Byung-hun, who plays the front man. Okay, the front man basically is, he did say that, what difference is it from, was it him that said it, or was it the old man that said it? Is it different from betting horses? You bet on horses, we just bet on people. Who is it that said it? Was it the front man or was it the old man?
I think it's the old man.
It was the old man.
The old man said that.
Well, on his deathbed, right?
Yeah, because this one wasn't trying to conversate with anybody on a personal level.
So the old man, for those who don't know, is Oh Young So, who's played Oh Young So, who plays Oh Il Nam. Okay, Oh Il Nam obviously is the elderly man who we feel sorry for the entire time, wanting to find that he's actually the person that's leading the whole thing. That's his idea. It's his thing. It's his baby. And that to me is like, whoa, it's mind blowing. And I think if there's anything that fully shocked me in the whole show, it was the appearance of the old man not being dead and turning out to be the person who has actually instigated the whole thing. You know, Frank said that he loved the crazy woman.
Please help me relieve that moment. How you felt when you saw the old man? Because for me, I had a spoiler alert because I covered the story before I actually watched it. So
you covered it on the website.
Yes. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew about an old man. Like, I remember something about it was all the old man's thing. So when I saw the old man, I'm like, this must be him. And so I wasn't that shocked. And
that kind of ruined it for you.
I know, like I wish. So I want you to relieve that experience for me so that I can live it through you. How did you feel throughout the whole thing? Because I love the friendship.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit of a little plug here for those that are not sure what Nana is referring to. Nana just happens to be one of my amazing staff writers for the Global Zambian magazine. You can see what's scrolling down there, tgzmag.com. We do write reviews about shows, about books, about different things, about pop culture and everything. And Nana is one of the people behind the writing. So some of the stories that you read there, Nana is one of the amazing talents behind. And she did recently write a review about the Squid Game and how it's really popular and how, you know, it's kind of popping off basically everywhere and everyone kind of loves it. And so that's kind of what she referred to. So because she had to write about it, she kind of like ended up having a spoiler, unfortunately, but which is a shame, you know. But in terms of how with the old man, I actually felt sorry for him. Okay, I actually felt sorry for the old man, in the sense that I was just like, oh my gosh, this poor man, how did he even find himself in this situation? How much debt must he be in, you know, for him to kind of find himself in this place, basically, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh my, I honestly, my heart, every time I saw him sunk. Every time I saw him, my heart sunk. I'm like, oh my gosh, this old man, even all the way down to when they were playing the marble game. And that's where, you know, our protagonist kind of like tricked him into, because of the dementia. He said, oh, what did I say? What did I say? You know, and he was like, oh, you said even. He's like, no, he said odd. He said odd. What are you talking about? And I was like, I can't believe you're doing this to the old man. What are you doing? You're supposed to be the nicest guy in this show. I was like freaking out. Like, I can't believe you did this. And when obviously we didn't see him get shot for obvious reasons now that we know, but I was like bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh my God, that episode was the worst. That episode was the worst episode.
It was the saddest one.
Worst episode in the sense that it was the best episode emotionally. You know, it took you on an emotional journey because you got to have the girls be vulnerable, because, you know, she always showed a tough exterior. The girl in question, who I'm actually talking about, is one of our main characters, who is Hyung Jung, who plays Kang Se Byok. Okay, so she plays Kang Se-byuk, and she's just gorgeous. Do you know she's a model, by the way? IRL, she's a model. She's
Really, she
tall.
is gorgeous.
Yeah, she's a model and she's tall. She's absolutely beautiful. And she basically was always showing a tough exterior because of, obviously trying to raise money. She's basically trying to move her family, I think, from the north to the south, isn't it? The north is where everyone is kind of oppressed, right? And to move them to the south, and she paid money. You know what, people pay money when they're trying to cross the border and stuff like that, but the person, your coyote, technically ends up basically screwing you over. That's what happened with her. And she ended up, I think, getting involved with this guy, okay, where I think they would steal money and things like that. Hyung Sung Tae, who plays Jang Deok Soo, and basically, he's just like I don't like the word hate, but I hate him. He's a character, right? I can hate a character. I hate him so much, so much. He's the worst person ever. Honestly, he's the worst person ever. You know. So if they put, okay, Abe is saying if they put too much sentiment within the game, they will not survive. I feel like you do need a little bit of sentiment, I think. Maybe I'm the type of person who just wants everybody to love each other and be kind to one another. Maybe I'm naive in that sense. But I feel
Not in
like
this
similar to
game.
our protagonist, he was kind of naive in that sense. And you said, how could he not know his friend? I feel because he does have a naive side to him. If you notice, he was just like, oh, he's amazing. And every opportunity he got, he still wanted to sing the praises of this guy that he went to this university, this and the other. And so I think the reason why he didn't know is because he felt, he never saw that side of his friend. Maybe the friend never showed that side either until he left and went into the big bad
Maybe
world.
he refused. Maybe he refused to see that side. Because
Maybe.
there's yeah, where you believe in your friends so much, and you
Mhm,
probably subconsciously make excuses for their actions and stuff like that. Yeah, you just
mhm,
refuse. And you
mhm.
maybe he's the type who always looks at someone's good side, like, oh, but when we were young, he once
Right.
saved me from a
Yeah.
bully or
Yeah.
whatever. And you hold
Yeah.
on to those memories forever, and not recognizing, like, this guy has changed.
Hmm,
The
hmm,
world has
hmm.
made him,
Different.
he's
It's
selfish and
made him
all these
different.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frank says, I
Yeah.
learned in my teens the backstabbing nature of man, so I wasn't surprised. Okay, that's fair enough. Man can be quite backstabby. Backstabby, they can be
Yeah.
backstabby, and I think that's where, as human beings, our nature also is, part of our nature is love, right? So you do try to give people the benefit of the doubt rather than judging them off the bat, and it was sad, but it was like, oh. And afterwards, say this man, and he kept on going with the backstabbing. Like he did one thing after the other, after the other. He
Yeah.
did the honeycomb game. And then what followed after that? Honeycomb was the first one where we saw that he's very deceptive. And then there was I think it was the marble game, right? He didn't do really anything else prior. Oh,
No,
oh,
no,
oh,
no.
oh.
Yeah.
The tug of war. The tug of war,
What did
remember,
he?
he said we don't want any more women. He was like, we don't want any more women. He was literally trying to enforce the fact that they shouldn't have any more women because they're going to be weaker, and I was like, you so and so, like, how very dare you.
But then you have to understand him. Like, why would you pick the weaker? Like, I somehow I just understand him. Like, you're just trying to survive at this point.
But the thing is, he's trying to
Really.
survive. The way I saw it, I'm thinking, you've seen how the Squid Game goes. You never know what you're going to get. The perfect example is when they paired up. He thought he was getting a strong partner. What did he end up doing? Backstabbing the poor Ali. Ali ended up getting backstabbed and shot in the head because Ali was actually winning. He got angry with Ali. You must be cheating. And that's because he was projecting his own mindset. Ali was probably one of the most innocent people in that show, and I was very sad. Like after, and when I saw the tears in his eyes when he realized he had the stones, I said, "Oh my gosh!" That
Like,
episode was
Ali,
just like
rule
it
number
was.
one.
Your
Gosh,
hair looks
that was
stunning. Sonny, thank you. I don't know whose hair you're referring to, but if it's both of us, thank you. Either way, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that.
yeah.
As a Ilnam 001. What? Frank? Are you saying that you guessed? Because that's another question. Who do you think anyone would have guessed that something was off about Ilnam? Do you think? I don't know.
Anyone
Avis
would
is
have
saying, I
guessed
think,
what? Sorry, you went off for
guess
a bit there.
guess that
Oh, I went
Ilnam
off.
might have been guess that Ilnam might have not been a real contestant.
I don't know. For me, I'm out. So because
I never suspected him. I honestly never suspected him. After obviously the whole doctor situation, I think after the whole doctor situation, basically, I was like, okay, so that maybe those were the people who might have not been real contestants or whatever. But it turns out after they killed them, that okay, they really want this to be fair. You know what I mean? There's no one that's kind of like pulling any strings. So I honestly never had any suspicions. I just kept on looking to see who would actually make it. Like, would they allow them? North Korea is the communist state and South is the democratic state. That's correct. So yeah, and it was quite interesting, actually. Frank has pointed that out, because when the two girls were having a conversation, they spoke about, because I keep forgetting her name, swear down. The main girl, I'll call her the main girl.
I can't help
The
you
main
because I
girl,
know no one's name.
the main girl, she basically was the one from the north, and she's trying to basically get her family to escape the north. That was the situation. And basically, through her conversation with the other girl, who is used to being in the south, which a clear sign, even if might not be an obvious one for people who are free to do whatever, was the nose ring. I don't think that level of freedom would be allowed in North Korea. You know what I mean? It's very strict. It's actually quite sad, the stuff. If you actually research and look into what goes on in North Korea that's not been reported, etc., it's really quite brutal. It's really quite brutal. People are not allowed to have access to certain things. So when they were having a discussion, she talked about she mentioned something very basic. I wish I could remember. Going somewhere, and she was like, what's that? And she's like, what, you don't know this? Like, literally, like me saying, oh, maybe we can be able to, I don't know, we go to Hawaii or something, and you don't know what Hawaii is. You don't know that even exists. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. That's how closed off North Korea is. There's actually a movie I watched, very sad movie, where someone was kind of giving like a TED talk, but it turns into an animation. I wish I can remember the name, but it was so touching. I cried half of the movie. But it was to do with kind of showcasing what kind of was going on in North Korea. It's almost reminiscent to the Holocaust, what they were going through, the Jews were going through, where they were forced out of their homes and they were forced into like camps. And in those camps, with North Korea, they were forced to only watch certain types of TV. They couldn't just watch anything. They had to watch TV that was very much structured to manipulate them, to make them think this is it, this is all there is, and to instill fear in them about wanting to move on and things like that. They need to survive. Abis is really like, look, it's about survival. Like, at that point, what muscle men around me? I mean, if you don't know though, and then it turns out you needed a smart person, what would you do? You wanted a muscle person around you. You and Abis have got similar opinions on this, right? It's survival. What if you needed someone who could use their brain more than their muscle? What would you do?
But then some of the weaker people there already did not show that side to them. So either way, the smart people were leaning towards more of the main characters at some point, except when they were doing the glass thing. That was so intense. The last challenge,
thing was intense.
I think that was the last one.
It was it was the second to last challenge, I think.
And where that old man miraculously was a glass expert and stuff like that, like. And everyone's like, why didn't you tell?
Swear down, he would have been the first one. He should have been the first one to actually be on the line to say, let's have a look, let's look through. And the thing is, I like to watch, like when I watch certain movies where it's about survival, there's a few YouTubers actually a number of YouTubers who put out videos about how you can survive certain things. And he mentioned something interesting. He said that um, maybe, what they could have done is, because of the whole glass situation, that man should have been first, knowing he knows how, he can tell the difference in the glass. And two, they could have used their shoes, tied their shoes to something, and then kept throwing them. And then if the shoe
Oh,
broke it,
yeah.
right, or cracked it, they would know that that's the weaker glass. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's actually not bad.
Exactly.
Avis is saying, no, I guessed about the police brother. Oh yes, that's another one. It's like, I was like, oh no.
I was shocked.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's his brother. Oh my gosh. And you know what I realized as well? When they found the ID on the man in the ocean before they found the intruder, it says, oh, he left this ID, this police ID, and he read it. So when he read it, he knew immediately
He
at
knew.
that moment that the intruder was, in fact, his brother. And so that's why I believe he's not dead. He shot him on purpose on the shoulder, similar the way he shot him as well. He recovered, and I feel he's also going to recover, and he's going to come out in season 2. I'm just saying. If you haven't heard it anywhere else, you've
Yeah.
heard it here first.
He
It's coming
definitely
out
needs.
in season 2.
Yeah. He
You know,
definitely
so
needs
no
to
one
come
could
back
have
in
guessed.
season 2.
So this is based on my question about Ilnam. Could have anyone guessed? Like, say no one could have guessed. Abis said that she guessed the police brother. Teresa is saying the old man knew the guy was tricking him during the marble game. He did, right? He actually did, because
That was
in
that was hard for me to watch when the old man called him out, like, you, how could you do that to your friend and blah blah blah. Ish, that was hard for me to watch.
I was like,
But then again, once you find out later that you
he
created
was
all
he was
this, well, like, old
furious. He
man,
was furious.
who are you to, you know what
And
I
you know
mean?
the
Who are
funny
you
thing,
to judge?
the interesting thing is, at the end, on the deathbed of the old man, when he was talking to him, he was so furious. I actually was expecting that he would have empathy still more of some level, but because then I realized that, wait, this man lost everybody he cared about in the game. Okay, he ended up caring about the pickpocket girl, even if, in the beginning he was like, you stole my money, da da da. He cared about his childhood friend. Okay, he watched them both die. He comes home, his mother's dead, and you think he's gonna be happy with you? Like, are you having a laugh, mate? So that was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy. But yeah, the old man knew all the time. Even if he had dementia, I think he was trying to push to see, because his thing is he feels people are naturally selfish and not wanting to help. They just want to take. They never want to give back. And so he felt, let me see how far he's willing to go. And I think he was kind of testing his level of kindness on that part. AB says, I was emotional watching from a distance, but as humans, when actually faced with games that result to death and pressure, it might push people to play tactfully. That's true. That is very true. I mean, it's one of those situations where we can agree with this. And I agree with that statement, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you won't really know until you are in that position. You know
That's
what
the
I mean? You
thing.
never really know how you're going to react in a situation until you are in that actual position, because you honestly, those things you can't really predict. You actually can't. It's quite difficult. So I knew it from early on. Abies, can you enlighten us how early on you knew about the policeman? Because she's like, she knew early on. Can you enlighten us how early on you
Yeah.
knew? Frank is saying, in Hinduism and Indian religion, good people actually get punished by jealous Hindu gods. So it could be a lesson that in this world, good people finish last. That sucks. That actually sucks. Oh my gosh, that is horrible. That's actually really horrible. Can you imagine? I know
Yeah.
it's difficult. I
Being
know a lot of
good.
people. That's horrible. I know it's difficult in life, like when you're good and you try to stay on the straight and narrow, and do things the right way. You do end up getting the short end of the stick, should I say, or the wrong end of the stick, whichever one. So he might be alive. Yes, I think he's alive. I think the brother is alive, and I think he purposely shot him because I don't think he really wanted to kill the brother, because really and truly his brother was going there to look for him. Teresa
Yeah,
saying
and
he knew
he asked
he
the
knew
police
before that because
to
he saw him in the chamber. Wait, where did you see him in the chamber? Who? Wait, are we talking about Ilnam in the chamber?
Who saw Ilnam in the chamber?
Teresa says she saw him in the chamber. She knew before that because she saw him in the chamber. Speaking of which, guys, obviously we've been about 40 minutes talking about this. We're happy to open for anybody who wants to come in. Give us your thoughts. You can come in and call in. We can hear your voice. If you're shy to be on camera, you can always use an avatar. And just click on the link, and that should be able to get you in. I'm just going to grab the link over this side, and I'm going to pin it. Just bear with me one moment. Let's pin the link over on YouTube. There we go. Okay. Okay, if you're watching over from YouTube, the link to StreamYard has been pinned at the very top, so you can easily find it. And if you are watching from Facebook, you can easily just click on it and then just hop in, and we'll add you to the discussion about Squid Game. So Abe is saying he's probably hanging from the cliff.
The brother.
Saying that, yeah, after he kind of fell out, he's hanging from the cliff. I think he fell in the water and swam to safety. I think, or swam somewhere closer and then was able to hitch a ride at some point. That way they think he's dead, because they never showed him fall all the way down. They never showed an aftermath of what happened to him at all. I thought the old man was making him cheat on purpose to make him win at first. I had an inclination to that, in the sense that I felt like maybe the old man had, ended up liking him. You know what I mean? He'd grown on the old man. And even if he was the games master, the owner of the game and stuff, he probably thought, this guy's actually shown me kindness. Remember when the old man supposedly peed in himself, which I think maybe he had put water on himself. There was a water bottle next to him. He's the only person who made sure to cover him up and kind of like save his, his dignity, which was really kind. That's why I really like the protagonist. He's an amazing guy.
And also there was another moment where they had to, it was for the marble game, where I think they paired up for the marble game, but they all assumed it was some physical challenge and nobody was trying to pick the old man. You know what I mean? And he actually had an option. There was one more person, and then he went for the old man because he saw that no one was going to pick the old man. The old man was really the role of like, oh, I'm just a vulnerable old man. We should have known, though.
He played the vulnerable old man good. I mean, in part, obviously, he decided to play the game because he literally was on, close to dying. But at the same time as well, he just wanted one last thrill, So I've seen some people do YouTube videos where they say, oh, it didn't scan him. I think it scanned him. The green light, red light, and it highlights them around them to see movement and stuff. And some people have been saying that it wasn't scanning him. When I looked closely, it scanned him as well. I saw that it scanned him. So I don't know what people were saying about him not getting scanned.
It's just that he knew. He knew the rules. So, he knew the rules. So obviously.
He knew when to stop,
Yeah.
So I don't agree with the fact that people were saying that, the ending made me think of Saw. Oh, really? In what way did it make you think of Saw? The psycho ill person and a killing game spree. So as soon as he got in that place, I said, there has to be a twist. Which place? Was it like the little house, like where he kept on basically talking about how he his childhood memories? And the thing is, where I was like, how come this old man knows a little bit too much how to handle this game? Is, oh, we played this when we were kids. Oh, I played this when I was a kid. Oh, I said, hang on a minute. Are you the only one who played all these games when you were a kid? Like, you know what I mean? Even the tug of war, he was like, you have to do this. The tug of war was fun though. I enjoyed watching that.
The tug of war was fun.
If I ever have to play tug of war, me and my team, we're gonna adapt that method.
Yeah. Because that was so, to watch the first ones go and how they were just dropping dead. That was
like lemmings. Like lemmings.
Yeah. And those guys' team was so weak. To top it off, we had the old man on the team. Like, thank God for his wisdom.
Honestly speaking, and when he was speaking in the bedroom, I was convinced. In the bedroom?
Which? Oh, maybe in the way they were.
In the where they were sleeping. I think where they were sleeping. So here's an
Mhm.
interesting question. Did anyone notice that when the rooms got emptier, when the room got emptier and emptier, and you could see the walls more clearly, did you notice all the games were actually painted on the walls?
No, I didn't.
You did
I'll
not
have to
notice
check
that
that
the
again.
games were actually painted on
I
the walls?
didn't. No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't pay attention to
Let
that.
me see if I
Really?
can find. Yeah. Let me see if I can find something really quickly. Yeah, literally the games were painted all over the walls. They were not that visible, right? They were literally not that visible when whatchamacallit, when everybody was, uh still had the beds, because the beds were kind of blocking the view. There was stuff all over the place.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So because of that, they were not that visible. And so, but afterwards, when you looked, you're like, oh my gosh, when there was only just a few of them, you were like, wait 1 second. So let me just see if I can find that for you and actually show you. This is literally, normally I don't add like last minute bits because this is a lot of work. But here is the image. Just upload it there. Have a look. Okay. Have a close look. Zoom in if you're watching from a phone.
Oh, okay.
Zoom in, put your eyes closer. The games are all around the same room that we're sleeping in. The games were there. And so, had anyone
Wow.
actually paid closer attention to the walls after maybe even one game, they would have realized that, hang on a minute, that's the game we just played. And then the next one, and the next one. So
Mhm.
they would know roughly what other games were yet to come. You know, don't you find that fascinating?
I
Like,
really do find
literally,
that fascinating.
it's quite interesting. I was like, oh my gosh, so the games. So I think there were clues there to make it easier for them. But because I think they were so focused on playing the game and wanting to win the money. I mean, we're talking about 28 million pounds. 28 million
Wow.
pounds. That's a lot of money. Yeah. That is a lot of money to win. It will change. It's life changing money at the end of the day. It's life changing money. And so
But
it's
then
kind of
again,
interesting.
after all that,
Mhm.
um, I think even just not for a lead, anyone else, I don't think you
Mm.
would enjoy that money at all after going through all that, witnessing
It
all
would
those
be hard.
deaths.
It would
It
be
will
very,
really,
very
really
hard. I
be
think,
hard. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you probably feel like there's some people who deserve this more,
More
who
than you.
fought for this more, whatever,
Right,
and
right.
just you you formed relationships in there and
Hmm.
strong friendships enough, and now they're
Hmm.
all gone, and like
Hmm.
I wouldn't enjoy that money. I would fight for
I,
it, but afterwards it
I
just
think it
wouldn't
would
make
take
sense.
time. I think in a similar to our protagonist, I think it would take time to enjoy the money, in the sense that you'd be like,
Mhm.
okay, I can't live my life like a vagabond, because he carried on living like a bit of a vagabond. And you realize that, okay, I can't actually live my life being this miserable all the time. Like, you get exhausted of feeling exhausted, if that makes sense, or feeling sad. You know what I mean? You get tired of being that way, I think, after a
Mhm.
while. Abe is saying the old man had given up on humanity and could see the um that Lee has passion. He had passion, Lee had passion. Is his name Lee? Yeah,
Compassion.
he had compassion. He had compassion. Definitely he had compassion. The police officer was sneaking in the bedroom. Oh, okay. When he
Was
was
on
sleeping
the
with him.
phone
When it was,
when
I said,
he
as
put
soon
the
as he was,
receiver.
when he was on the phone, you think he knew that the policeman was there?
He knew
Do
there
you
was
think
an intruder, but he didn't know the intruder was the policeman at that
at that moment?
point.
No. He found out after they showed
No.
him the ID, after they found the dead body of the guy that he
Yeah,
fought when they were still on the
that's when he
ferry.
knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when he knew.
At that
Um,
moment he didn't know.
and then say that's when I was convinced that the brother was the mask guy. I was not convinced that the brother was mask guy. If anything, I actually, because it showed, like, if you notice, there's a part where it shows it translates to say the winners in 2015, which brings me another question in a second. the winners, and then it mentions the name, and he says his brother's name out loud, and he looks for the file where he is, but nothing is actually mentioned as to what happened to the brother. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, the brother actually won, and he won money, and he abandoned his family. You know what I mean? But another question that I have is, what year is Squid Game supposed to be based in? Because it says winners 2015, but the complaint about the mom not hearing from his brother seemed to have been like she hasn't heard from him for like a few weeks. So it hadn't been years. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, is that the very next year? Or I'm very confused about that part. Or unless maybe he won a long time ago, okay, went back to his normal life, right? And then they called him to ask him if he can be a games master, maybe. Because I want to understand that.
But if he went back to his normal life, shouldn't the family have been living? Yeah,
Right.
living.
And that's why I have a question mark. I'm like, how is the timeline working on that? I'm very confused about the timeline on that. I still think they would play the same way if they know the game. Yeah, I mean, if you know the game, because of the fact that sometimes it's a game of chance in the sense that some things might not always go the way you want them to. Okay, if you're playing the marble game, you won't know if you win. If you're playing the glass one, if you're not a glass expert, you don't know if you're gonna go through. If you're playing tug of war, you don't know who's gonna want you on their team. You know, and then let's not forget the massacre night. Okay, where people were just killing each other so that there could be less people and more money, you know, added to it. So that's another one. So a good teacher likes giving his students answers in the question. That's true. You know, there were lots of answers within the game itself, but I think, like I said, because it was intense, you know, when you're a lot of pressure, you don't have time to kind of think, and
You don't even have that time to study all these things. You
no,
don't
you don't.
have the time.
Yeah. So no
Yeah.
matter how many clues there were, I feel like because the level of pressure, their lives were literally on the line. I think that stopped them from seeing things for what they really were. Like, oh, hang on, we've got this. Oh, hang on, this is the situation. Oh, hang on, this could be like this, you know. And so you can't enjoy blood money unless you're European royalty. Oh.
Wow.
But isn't that the truth though? Isn't that the truth though? Isn't that the truth though? I mean, no lies are told. No lies have been told here. You know, so yeah.
Wow.
But yes, guys, if you're watching and you want to join in this discussion, please feel free to call in. We're going to be wrapping up very, very soon. In about 6 minutes or so, we're going to be wrapping up. You know, what else is it that you found fascinating about Squid Game? No.
What I wanted to talk about is what do you think about the creator of the show being rejected? He went to all these networks and everything, and producers and all these people thought that it's unrealistic, it's not doable. And for me, it's shocking that they thought that, because it's actually very realistic. You know what I mean? Like, I love how they played out our real life situations and everything. And I love the story of his perseverance, because a lot of us would have
It's
given up.
inspiring.
Like 10
It's
years.
very, very inspiring.
Yeah.
I didn't like the ending. Get on the plane. Oh, the ending. I would rather he did get on the plane, because I'm like, you've been lacking having a relationship with your daughter. And this is your one big chance. You've got all the money in the world. You can literally do anything with her and be able to kind of also rub it in the face of, you know, your ex-wife and stuff. And you chose to go and try to end the games, you know. And so for me, yeah, I was just like, but this is what I'm talking about when it comes to hang on, let me see if I can get his name, because gosh, what's his name again? What's his name? Here it is.
Player 456.
Player 456. I like that. Link is Song Ji-hung. Song Ji-hung was terrible at making good decisions. He was just terrible at making good decisions. I don't understand why he couldn't find it in himself to make a good decision. Now, in this one, I get it. He the game has probably made him hate it so much that he feels the need to go back so he can try and stop it. But I feel like I'm curious to see how that might end up going. I feel like maybe in an effort to try and stop it, because these people like to play games anyways, they might say, fine, you want the game to end for good, join a game. Join again, and if you win, we'll end the games forever. And because they are fair, right? They stick to the rules. They're fair. They'll say, if
Yeah,
they say we'll
it's
really end the
so
game
fair.
if you win, right? He will say, fine, I'll do it, because he's an idiot, and he might never ever see his daughter ever again. There's no guarantee he'll survive. But at the same time, it could be a situation where maybe on his way back, he might end up bumping into Mr. Policeman guy, him. Okay, we had June,
And they
who
start
was playing,
working together.
and they might work together. You know, so that's what I'm hoping for, and I did find it quite interesting that he ended up dyeing his hair red, because the red in Squid Game represents the people who are in charge, whereas the green represents the people who are actually having to work or survive for a living. And so I feel like the tables have turned, in the sense that he now has dyed his hair red, which is basically what the bosses wear and stuff like that. But in addition to that, don't you find it? I found it very interesting. And this is when people look for Easter eggs. People who are fandom people, they look at little Easter eggs and things like that. I did find it fascinating that he was the very last player, and the old man was the very first player. And him being the
Yeah.
very last player ended up being the one on top, And then within the show, he actually ended up, the old man gave him his sweatshirt, which had 001 in the back. So do you think that was a foretelling to say he's going to be the one on top? And I feel like maybe that might have been an Easter egg for fans who kind of look for this kind of clues and stuff, It's quite interesting, because the whole red
But
green
then the
thing,
game was everything was so unpredictable. How was the old man to know? Or
that he was going to
is it
pee
because
himself,
people of that, sorry?
to that he was going to pee in himself.
No, I thought you meant that he was gonna win. The old man knew he
Oh,
was
no, no,
gonna
no,
win. Is
no,
that what you
no,
meant?
no,
Oh,
not,
okay.
not,
Okay.
not. I'm talking about now on the production angle. In the story
Okay.
writing
All
angle.
right.
Yes, on the story writing
Mm-hmm.
angle, I feel like those were Easter eggs that were kind of placed, put in place. Him dyeing his hair red, kind of representing that he's no longer at the bottom of the totem pole, he's
Yeah.
now up there. Him being
Okay.
given the number one, almost like a foretelling that he's the one that's actually going to end up winning, which technically puts him at number
I
one,
see.
right? You see what I
I
mean?
see your
So I feel
point.
like
Yeah.
those were kind of
I
like the
see your point.
producers, and yeah, they drop those little Easter eggs just for the fun of it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's I don't even know, like, it's one of those where you just keep watching, you're thinking, my gosh, there's a lot going on in here. So guys, we're just now about to do the last calls. For anyone that wants to call in, this is your last chance. We are about to end the live. Have you got any last thoughts, Nana, about the show, about what you think it means for society in terms of the disparities between the rich and the poor, and what people are willing to do in order to just kind of have their pleasures? Or is, there's such a thing as being too rich, to the point that all you've got, you're basically are lacking so many life pleasures, to the point where the only way you
Mm-hmm.
can feel some level of pleasure or enjoyment in your life is to actually watch people in a sadistic manner die, basically, and you're just
Yeah.
betting on them.
Yeah. Um, it kind of reminds me of is it the Abraham Maslow law? The
Mm,
one where the higher you go,
mm,
after you've attained all these things,
mm-hmm,
in the pyramid, after you've attained all these things, and now you start to think of all these weird things to do to entertain yourself, and
mm,
that's the case with these rich people. Like,
mm.
you've met your targets, you've met your goals, everything they said you wouldn't achieve, you've accomplished, and now you just want to toy around and mess with people's lives. And it kind of reminds me of the situation with the whole COVID thing and all these talks
Mm-hmm.
of it was just created so that the world can be controlled and all these things. And a bunch of just rich people just toying with our emotions, toying with these people's emotions, and laughing. Like I couldn't stand watching that scene when the VIPs came through and they're watching this and like, oh, I have a favorite of this, and people are dying on the other side, and you
Right.
feel like you're doing them a favor because you've placed this prize above their heads and everything. Like for me, that was a bit sickening. But then,
It's
yeah,
cruel.
it was so cruel. But then on the green side, to see them to see reality play out. This is why for me, I find it strange that producers and all these people did not uh, rush at the chance. I get maybe the killing might have seemed brutal on, and certain things on paper don't play out as well as visually.
They do visually, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was the excuse and everything. But I don't see how a concept like that could have been rejected
Turned out.
because of the society side of it, how
Yeah.
people would do anything to survive. People would betray their closest ally just to, get to the next level for money or to survive. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I learned a lot of life lessons in there, and which I really appreciate. I really didn't think I would come out
You
so
learn
away.
life lessons, definitely, from both the story
Yeah,
angle and the
there was a lot
producer,
of
how
life
he was
lessons.
looking to push the show, and then also within the show itself, it does make you think. It poses a lot of questions about society and how we handle situations when we're under a lot of pressure, whether we're going to make the right decision, we're going to make a selfish decision, you know what I mean? Whether we're going to put others before ourselves, which is what our protagonist has did for the most part, um, and as for the creator of the show, for me, I feel like maybe one of the reasons they turned him down is because it was how many years ago? 10 years ago, right? He had this idea. 10 years ago, when was Hunger Games? Okay, we had shows like Hunger Games, which were big. And bear in mind, at the time, thanks to Netflix, there's a huge appreciation now of, I'm putting it quote unquote, foreign shows and films. Okay, technically, they're not foreign. They're foreign to Americans and maybe UK people. But once upon a time, Hollywood felt they were running everything. But now Hollywood has reached a place where they're constantly recycling shows, recycling movies, bringing movies. I mean, The Matrix has come back, Alien has come back, this has come back. And I'm like, where are your new ideas? They don't have any new ideas. That's what's happening right now. And so Netflix was like, you know what? To heck with the status quo. We're going to go out there and actually find the talent, because guess what? The United States, Hollywood is not the only place. UK is not the only place where all the talent is. There's so much more talent, so many other ideas because of the different cultures, because there's only so much you can suck out of your own culture and expect not to run out of stories. Of course, you're going to run out of stories because you've limited yourself within your borders. Whereas when you look at other countries, you get to see different types of storytelling, because based on their culture is how they're going to tell the story. So even Squid Game,
Exactly.
who knew what Squid Game was? I never even knew there was such a game as Squid Game. It's a game that actually exists. Okay, Honeycomb, all the games that were actually playing in there are games that actually exist. But guess what? We wouldn't know this unless we were Korean ourselves. You see what I mean? Unless we were Korean ourselves, wouldn't be none the wiser. And so based on that cultural background, he was able to create this big phenomenon out of it. You see what I mean? And so it's when you move out. And at this point, I think at the time it was Hollywood who he was probably knocking the door on, or people who kind of like were pushing in the
Yeah.
Hollywood angle, and they thought, nah, it's not going to fit well. We're not sure, and this and the other. You know what I mean? But obviously Netflix was like, nah, hold my hold my tablet. Hold my tablet. I'll give you a chance. So we've got a caller in. I think Frank has come in. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hello, Frank. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi. I was looking for my ring light.
You're looking for a ring light. We can still see you. It's quite clear.
Am I live?
Yes, you are live.
Am I
indeed.
live?
Welcome.
Too soon.
You're alive, Frank.
So I just wanted to make a comment. Say, like, in terms of the inequality gap, right? Because that's what it's basically saying. there's the haves and
The
the have-nots, right?
That's right.
And how far you're willing to go to be one of the haves, right? For you to have what you want, right? Are you willing to steal? Are you willing to kill? Are you willing to backstab and betray? So it's telling of our society how big the gap has grown. The point where people are owing so much money, and they're willing to go that far.
Right.
Yeah. So it's actually a social tale.
It is
That's
a
why
social
everyone
tale.
is hooked on it, because they feel, yeah,
That it's
because
relatable,
they're
right?
hooked. Yeah.
Even if it's extreme, it's
It is
relatable
extremely
because you're
relatable.
thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, we live in societies, particularly the West, where they're pushing people to keep borrowing, Do you know that you don't always have credit until you start to borrow? It doesn't make sense, does it? You will not be able to get credit,
Yeah, it
something
doesn't.
credit, unless you've already borrowed before. Only then will your credit rise if you are starting to be in debt. That's literally how the West world works.
It's horrible.
And so when I saw like places like Zambia where they're starting to put people on mortgages, I'm like, no, don't do mortgages. Trust me. You don't want that. Save your money and buy your house outright. Don't take any loans, because places like Africa, we don't need that kind of steep ditch that the Western world already have. They can survive off of this borrow lending thing. They've already got a cycle in place for that. Africa can't survive that sort of thing if it grows. You know what I mean? And I feel like when it comes to Squid Game, it is a situation where, if you notice, a lot of them were owing money to banks and things like that, because they were borrowing to the point where they were in debt. And even when they killed those people to show them as an example of playing a fair game, they said, these are people, everyone has worked, we're playing a game where it's fair. These people have been given unfair, advantages out of the world, and we're giving them a chance to win everything fair and square, because it's been unfair for them outside there. Do you see what I mean? And so, yeah, you've made a really, really good point, so, but otherwise, so how long did it take you to watch it?
Yeah, but the thing is, I wanted to jump on and hear a bit, because like I'm actually doing research in economics, and I haven't had a chance to go past episode 3.
Episode 3.
So
no, there's a lot more. So
you kind of spoiled it for me, but I heard Namaka also got. Yeah. So I also heard like Nana also got spoiled on it. So it's not a loss. Cause you're always online. You always get some spoilers. So it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to watch it through though.
You should watch it through, because
Thanks for having me.
Even if we've had spoilers, you're still going to pick up on certain things that we've probably not mentioned, because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of depth, my friend laughed in the sense that, like, I'm really geeky about knowing this fact, but like the second to last episode is 30 minutes long. About 3 episodes are over 60 minutes long, and then the rest of the episodes are about 50 something minutes long, close to 60 minutes. Don't ask me why I've memorized that. I didn't do it on purpose. I just happen to know. So there is a lot.
You're making this show. You have to know your facts. Facts. So you have to be in your A game. Because if you're coming in like semi-cooked, I don't think I would have enjoyed this program as much. Like, I loved the fact that you actually hinted, say, like, the wars. It was actually written on the wars. Like, whoa. It reminds me of the whole, a good teacher gives his students the answers in the question type thing. Where it's like, we want you to win. We try to be as fair as possible here. If you mess up, it's your fault. For not paying attention.
Exactly. But thank you so much, Frank, for calling crazy. In. We really appreciate you coming on and supporting and conversating with us in the comments. We appreciate the love. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, love you Frank. Too, love.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Oh, that was really nice of him. Really, he made a really good point though about the social disparities. And that's something that people tend to overlook, in the sense that the West pushes people to borrow money, and that's the biggest issue that the people, the contestants within Squid Game have actually got, in the sense that they're basically over their heads in debt, and that's why they found themselves there. And but the reason why they're in that level of debt is because of the choices. One part because of the choices they made, but also because of the options available to them in order to excel in life. We're just not there. Perfect example is Ali. Ali is an immigrant from Pakistan. He came over and basically was working an honest job, and he was still messed with by his boss, who's saying, I don't have any money, was sitting on the desk with the envelope full of money. That made my blood boil. I said, how dare he? So I didn't feel sorry for him when his fingers got crushed.
Yeah, neither did I.
I'm like, who treats people like this? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's got a child and a baby, and he didn't pay them for how many months? 6 months?
6 months.
He hadn't paid them for like 6 months. That's crazy to me. And you still expect them to come into work. Like, who even does that? But this is the type of society that we live in. Believe it or not, in as much as the games themselves might be brutal, the reality that these people, the individuals, were facing outside of it that made them actually go back it was worse than them. They're like, at this point, I'm as good as dead outside anyways. Like, there's nothing for me there. I might as well just go back in there and try my best. Hopefully I will come out the victor, and it's sad that people are kind of pushed. Yeah, it's sad that people are pushed to to that extent. So yeah, it's overall, I congratulate the creator, the producers, the cinematography, everything. I just loved everything about it. The colors, honestly, the color correction, everything was done so amazing. The set design,
it was done so well.
So well. So well. It was very well executed. I know there's some people who might nitpick and go, but there was this problem, I loved it. I think it was a great show. It made you think a lot, it made you question a lot, and if you paid attention to all the variety of individuals, our careless protagonist, from the young girl who was trying to bring her family over from the north to the south, all the way to the Pakistani guy trying to find a better life for himself but still getting screwed over, the husband and wife where he had to play the marble game, and
I found that odd that they came
as a couple.
That odd that they came as a couple. That's
they were probably approached together. But what I don't understand is, did they get to be slapped together? Because you know how they get slapped. The entry is the slapping.
Yeah. But still, when they left and saw how crazy it was in there, and they knew chances of both of them or one of them surviving are very close to zero. They should have made a wise move, family move, to say one remains out and one comes in.
And then the other one remains outside suffering and the other one dies in there. Still is the same thing. Don't you think?
I guess maybe the other one would have come out with the money.
The fact that
one would have come out with the money
shows he had a very trusting personality, which unfortunately he trusted again in the game and got screwed over again. He was very trusting, very, very trusting. And that's what made my heart sink.
You can't change who you are.
You can't, So what were you saying? Sorry, Nana, when I was trying to read the AB's comment.
I've lost my line of thought. But I think I was saying that if they had split that way, if let's say the husband goes in and he wins, so he stands a chance of bringing the money home rather than one of them dies and then you win in there.
And then you come up without the other one.
Yeah, which...
That's true. They never thought it through. Because,
but
when
again,
the people
you didn't have enough time to think. That's the thing. You can't even really think.
But, but remember, they had a choice to come back in, though. They had a choice to come back in. And because they had a choice to come back in, that would have been their deciding time to say, okay, who's going to stay? Who's going to go in? You know what I mean? So they had an option because they did mention, if I recall, that not everybody came back. Not everyone came back. Out of everybody that left, not everyone came back. So there was that, So maybe for them, they had nothing else outside, on the outside world. Maybe. That's why they said, they had nothing else. But you know what I find interesting? I don't know if anyone else has actually thought about this. after they did the marble game, he lost her, obviously, right? And he was trying to shout to everybody, "What are you all doing? Let's leave this place. If half of us just say we're all gonna leave." Remember what they said in the beginning when they voted to leave? They said, if you all decide to leave, I think, we decide to leave and we stop the game.
Majority.
If the majority decide to leave and they stop the game, the people who are going to get the money are the deceased family, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The deceased family, right?
Oh.
So,
wow, he was still playing the game in that moment. Oh my goodness.
And that
was smart. Even the fact that you figured that out, that's smart.
I know.
And I love that they leave all these hints, but they don't baby us to it.
They don't baby us. I was like, wait 1 second. If he leaves, if everyone agrees to go with him, he will be the deceased family member who will get the money.
That is crazy. I did not think about that. I probably was never gonna.
Family member that would get the money, because that was going to be their last chance to leave.
I have to applaud him for that move. Like, if that's what you're thinking, I have to applaud him.
Because I stood there and I thought, is he for real, or is he doing it so that he can convince people to leave? Because that way he's going to be the deceased family that actually gets the money, or is he genuinely fed up because he completely loved his wife? Because it's like they couldn't go anywhere without each other. Do you remember when they were looking for the tug of war? He said, can she come? Because I can't go. I can only go where she goes. You know, so there could be that. And so I was like,
no women.
Right. So, you know, there's, I mean, obviously we could sit here honestly for a long time going, ooh, 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 and ooh, ooh, and ooh, ooh, ooh. Like literally things come back to you and thinking, oh, I never thought about that. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that. You know, but because there's a lot of angles, you know, to the show that's what makes it fascinating, I think, you know. It makes you think quite a lot. Even Mr. Tough Man with the tattoo, the only reason he got away with playing Mr. Tough Man is because he was a bit bigger than everybody else. But in fact, clearly he was the biggest coward. He was clearly the biggest coward. And so the fact that the crazy woman managed to overpower him and toss him through the glass. And I said, ha! She warned you. If you break my heart, I will kill you. Which part of that do you not understand?
But why was she catching feelings in such an intense situation? Like, she had no business catching feelings in 2 seconds. Like,
but the thing is, the fact that she was trying to carry herself as some kind of youth, in it. She was. It's like, you're not a youth, woman. You are not a youth. Let me just go London.
A sexy youth, for that matter.
I'm 19. I said,
just trying to be.
I said 19 where with wrinkles in your eyes. 19. Are you having a laugh, mate? 19.
Oh.
I was like,
oh my gosh, she's one of those. I think watching
the
her.
Matrix, let me know when we'll let you know. We definitely will let you know. Definitely.
Yeah.
I do want to watch the new Matrix.
She's one of those characters that I hated watching, but then every time you remember how crazy she was, it's so funny. Like in that moment, it was so intense, and like, why do you think you're this sexy 19-year-old? Why have you fallen for this bad boy? Why are you still making 19-year-old moves like that?
19-year-old
so
moves.
Funny.
Basically, she basically not only thought herself to be this sexy 19-year-old, but she thought herself to be the most popular and most beautiful girl in the place. Like, oh, not this girl, I can do better than them. And I was like, wait a minute. Whose bus did you ride on? She was
her acting was on point though.
Oh, so good. No, there was no one who's acting. There was nobody in there whose acting made me go, okay, that's a bit cheesy. You know what I mean? Everyone was kind of like on point. I felt bad for the mom to the childhood friend when she was like, oh yeah, my son has got high standards. And then the police came. I said, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Are you not ashamed of yourself? This is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. That was embarrassing. It was so embarrassing because the lady who she just said, oh, you know, my son's got high standards, you know, and then only for the police to come and say, actually, he's wanted for fraud. We need to arrest him. And she's like, wait, what? What is happening right now? You know, can I just say for those people who watch the English dub, if you prefer to watch the English dub, I would highly recommend you turn on the subtitles as well, because I feel like the subtitles are a little bit more closer to the translation of the actual you know, the actual Korean language than when you hear the English dub. The English dub was all well and good in the sense that you can look away, at least you'll be able to still hear what they're saying. But when you read the subtitles, you have a better understanding, because you will find sometimes what they're saying doesn't match what the subtitles are actually writing. And I feel the subtitles are actually a better translation, because I think the reason for this, because one of our writers, our staff writers, wrote about movies, you know, foreign movies getting lost in translation when it comes to, you know, them being dubbed in English, etc., that sort of thing. And I think this is something I talk to you guys about quite often. It's, again, when something is orally, right, when it's oral versus something being written, it doesn't always translate well. And so I think that might be a slight thing that they might be doing, that, okay, orally it's not making sense for someone to speak like this, even if we've translated it, but we've translated it and written it down for it to make sense, right, in the translation. But when someone tries to speak it in an English dub, it might not translate well in that sense. Maybe it could be that, you know, it's something that I just thought about. It's like, I wonder if that could be, you know, party to things being lost in translation. But yeah, I highly recommend that you do turn on subtitles, or completely change it to Korean. That way you're watching the Korean version and then you're just reading the subtitles. And some people struggle with that because, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can keep up with subtitles. Actually,
I'm people.
After a few minutes, you will find that you are able to actually watch with the subtitles. Your eyes, our bodies are amazing things. You know, God created us in the most amazing way you'll never believe. Your eyes and your eyes will be able to read the subtitles and still watch the scene. But it's just a matter of them adjusting and learning, you know? And once your body kind of learns to do that, you'll be like, oh, you even forget that you're actually reading subtitles. It kind of ends up feeling like you are actually hearing them speak, you know? So that's just a little bit...
It just feels more tedious. It just feels more tedious.
It's not. I always have subtitles on just in case.
Yeah. And you know, when you're watching these things, it's your relaxed time and everything like that. So you don't want to be like, whatever they're saying.
What is jibby?
Whatever they're saying. And then at the same time, you're like rushing through.
That is too funny. That is absolutely funny. So yeah, if when it comes to ratings, what rating would you give Squid Game?
I think a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10? That's good. Yeah, I would give it a 9 out of 10 as well. I probably would give it a 9.5 out of 10 actually, because I think it's really great production. Really, really great production. But so before we go, I just want to, something I didn't get a chance to say because I just wanted to get into kind of chatting about Squid Game. But if you are watching from YouTube, guys, please do not forget to click on that like button to like this video, and of course the subscribe button and the bell button so that you can receive notifications every time we upload a new video, and every time obviously we go live, you'll be alerted on that. And of course, if you are on Facebook, make sure that you like the video and of course follow the Facebook page so that you can be receiving notifications every time we upload a new video, and obviously every time we go live. I just want to give massive thank you to everybody that's been supporting us, everybody that's been coming through the comments, you know, Abiz, Teresa, and Frank. We appreciate you for even calling in and giving your opinion. It's always great to actually have people calling in, you know, so keep it coming, people, every time we come through. We're not sure yet the next show that we might be reviewing. It possibly might be Lupin. Some people might not recognize when I pronounce it like that, but I'm trying to pronounce it the right way. It's Lupin. But some people probably read it as Lupin. So maybe that might be the next one. Lupin or Lupin. Some people might pronounce it as Lupin. Another one that we might be reviewing soon is The Maid. is it Made? I think Made, also on Netflix. Lupin, also on Netflix. So keep those on tab if you enjoy those shows. If you watch them, they're really good shows. I highly recommend that you watch them because they make for great discussions as well. But otherwise, yes, thank you so much for tuning in. And obviously, to keep up to date with everything TGZ Magazine, make sure that you go over to our website, www.tgzmag.com, for everything lifestyle, entertainment, travel, and business, as well as pop culture. It's all there for you to enjoy. Otherwise, from myself and my lovely, beautiful co-host all the way in Zambia, Nana, from us, it is good night and have a beautiful weekend.
Good night.
You're watching TGZ TV.
The Global Zambian, the only magazine that celebrates quality, cross-culture lifestyle and entertainment.